Hello and welcome to Edukemy's YouTube channel. My name is Harsh Singh and in this video we shall discuss the feature news for today, which is on a very interesting topic, national gas grid. One nation, one gas grid for the nation. So before we get into the topic, let me welcome all of you people here. Welcome to Amlan, Hima, Kim, Tiasha, Sam, Babani, Ashish, Netra, all of you. All right, other people joining in, welcome to all of you while you watch this discussion. India has spoken of initiating its gas grid, an integrated gas grid which will secure overall, I think the number is 13,000 kilometers of gas grid in India. Just a bit. All right, the number is 32,000. Right now we have 17,000 kilometers of gas connectivity in the country, and the idea is to double the number almost to 32,000. Presently, the proportion of gas in the primary energy mix of the country is hardly 7%. And the idea has been to increase the proportion of gas usage at homes, household purposes, in industrial setup, in power generation, in road sector, and make it to 15%. So the percentage of gas as the source of energy should increase from 7% to 15%. Now, what is the reason for this stress of increase of gas? Primarily, right now we are using coal for power generation. Primarily, we are using for transportation petroleum in the country, and we know the status of both of them. Not only that, they are getting expensive with time, and not just that, they are also polluting sources. In this context, the gas as a source is lesser polluting, and it is also available in more prominence than coal and petroleum. We also have better relationship with the countries that we are importing this resource from, and India also have decent chunk of gas. Now, gas is also not the ultimate energy resource which we want to depend upon. We are going to depend on renewable sources. However, gas could be a beautiful transit away from the polluting sources like coal and petroleum and moving to gas and further to the cleaner sources. So gas acts as an important intermediary. These are the gas pipelines, the kind of pipelines which India also looks at installing in future. So presently, this could be underground, overground gas pipelines, and presently we have 17,000 kilometers of gas pipeline. The idea is to increase the number proportion to 32,000. If you look into this map of the country, the gas pipelines as of now that exist are the ones in blue color. That means we do have some connectivity in western part of the India, and yes, central and northern part we have a decent connectivity. But then we do not have good connectivity towards eastern India or northeastern India. Now, a country which has got good gas connectivity and availability of gas as a power, they also utilize gas-driven energy, gas-driven turbines which provide energy. There are some sources in the country. For example, there are few around Damodar. They also utilize gas for creation of energy. But then since India has traditionally not been using gas, we have coal-powered thermal plants. So this is where we are lacking. We can initiate this. India has been presently using gas at two important places. One is the fertilizer industry, and the second is the plastic industry. All right, these are the places where input of gas is mandated. There are other places where gas input becomes important. For example, I am talking of natural gas. So compressed natural gas, which is methane, it becomes CNG, becomes one source of driving vehicles, right? CNG buses, CNG trucks. So this becomes a way in which commutation can happen. So transport, energy, and we also have these piped natural gas, PNGs, in urban areas, in rural areas. So the idea has been to increase the consumption at household level as well, right? Presently, if you find the cylinders in your homes, those cylinders are not PNG, they are not NG, they are not natural gas. What they are LPG, liquefied petroleum gas. And the primary difference between LPG and CNG is this: that this gas, compressed natural gas, is actually found in a natural state, right, at places where other petroleum reserves are also found, natural, and this is methane, CH4, largely methane. On the other hand, when we speak of petroleum gas, this gas is obtained during the process of formation of or distillation, purification of petroleum products. So this is butane, right, C4H10, and this is methane. There are different gases altogether. Presently LPG being used if you have gas cylinders, but then it could be converted into piped natural gas as well. This is what government has now looked at, right? So providing these sources in the northeast, in the east of India, and India also has got these gas reserves being explored by who? By NTPC. GAIL is the company, Gas Authority of India Limited, is the one which provides for the transportation and linkages of technology so that gas is available throughout the country. So utility of gas is multifaceted in the country, just that we need to start expanding. And yes, if you want to look at the places at which gas is available, these are the see, the linkage of gas industry is very much with fertilizer industry, as I mentioned, and fertilizer industry also has its source in petroleum industry, petroleum processing. So wherever there is petroleum processing happening, we will have fertilizer industry also, or textile industry on the basis of this. Why? Because the leftover of petroleum, they are utilized as inputs in fertilizer, and these leftovers in fertilizer and petroleum industry can also be utilized as an input in textile. So when you see a place like Mathura, where we have an oil refinery, where you find in west of India, where there are decent number of oil refineries existent, this is the place where fertilizers also created. We have a place in Bihar also where fertilizer is being created. These are the places where the government has envisaged, from Haldia to place in Bihar, Gaya, and then other places like Jagdishpur in Uttar Pradesh. So this will be a complete gas grid in itself, right? So the idea has been to revive the fertilizer plant in Bihar, and what will be required is gas for the same. And the place also houses another place for petroleum refining as well. So with the northeast, if there are places for petroleum refinery here, if there's gas connectivity, we will also have the creation of fertilizer industry alongside. So these are added benefits. This is a part of the complete supply chain, and for that reason the government needs to extend the gas pipeline. This is not a $1, $2, $3 billion project. This is a multi-billion dollar project in which India envisages to transit from its coal base and petroleum base to gas base. So this is why government says we will initiate the one nation, one grid, one gas grid project. All right. So integrated gas distribution network to homes, to industries, to power sector. Power sector will take a while, but then to industries and to homes. What industries? Fertilizer and power industries, plastic industries. All right. Now, though India will be looking at 15% mix of gas in the energy mix, however, the global average right now is 24 to 25%. So we will still be well below the global average. While the other sources of energy like coal, like petroleum, they not only generate carbon dioxide, they also generate other byproducts, right? So we have soot formation, there is nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, improper burning leads to creation of carbon monoxide. Now these are the entities which are not created when we burn the cleaner fuel, that is the gas fuel. So this is additional advantage for India, and this is one of the cleaner fuels that are used, right? So one special thing about this gas grid is that India has also created a new company called as Indradhanush Gas Grid Limited. Indradhanush Gas Grid Limited, and this company will be operating in the northeast, amalgamation of 5 companies like ONGC, GAIL and other organizations, and this is where they will be initiating the gas grids in the northeast. Now if you look into the map, there have been several shortcomings in this industry as well. For example, we have been importing gas. We have got gas import terminal facilities in a place like Cochin. However, just having a port did not lead to extension of the gas provisions facilities at other places. So that is why now India has initiated a project to create gas grids further from Cochin, from a place like Ennore to interiors of the country. So penetration needs to be ensured, and this is what India is ensuring through a project like this. All right. So when the supply is decently abundant, when the supply is that of cleaner source of energy, why not use it? So that is why investing in this energy source. Now presently India has been importing a huge quantity of gas from Qatar. All right, these are the maximum exporters of the natural gas around the world. So Qatar has been one, Australia, USA, Russia, Malaysia, and then countries like Indonesia, Algeria, UAE, and Norway, right? So India has been importing from Qatar. India also look forward to importing from USA and also from Russia. All right. All right. Getting back to some components of what we have in the feature news here. 70,000 kilometers to 32,500 kilometers. The idea has been to extend the project and finish it off in a few years from now, so that India starts to utilize the services up to the year 2050-60. All right. The idea has been to initiate the coverage for 71% of India's population. So urban areas and those rural areas which are productively served. All right. Indradhanush Gas Grid Limited for the Northeast. All right. So could be a question for the prelim examination. Joint venture of 5 central public sector enterprises: IOCL, ONGC, GAIL, Oil India Limited, and NRL. Okay. So what is going to improve through this is supply of LNG throughout the whole country. Utilization will be improved. Presently, the utilization capacity has not been utilized well. So the utilization capacity is around 15 to 20% in the present level. That means if 100 units are being passed, only 15 to 20 units are being utilized. This is inefficient usage right now. The idea has been to make gas one of the primary sources of energy distribution for home purposes, for the purposes in the manufacturing industry as well. All right. So there will be a reduced carbon stress in the country. A natural gas market will grow in the country. See, right now when India has been receiving gas, we have been not the ones who fix the prices. The prices are fixed by the international market and primarily the supplier. But if we become a major importer of gas, then we also could be fixing the prices. So that is one advantage that we get, provided we become one of the bulk importers. All right. So enabler for natural gas market growth. Also, this will also spur the India's innate natural gas market. That means the market that exists because of exploration of gas within the country. All right. There are beds where we are able to find the natural gases, right, in the eastern coast region, in Rajasthan, Gujarat region. So we have proven gas reserve, but then we are not able to utilize this. We will be able to utilize this provided we receive a thrust from these kind of projects. All right. So demand supply energy we will be able to meet. Now this is a new form of energy which got created just a few decades back. An enormous supply does exist, but there's lesser transition to this new mode of energy. Why? Because we need management of gas. That means some application and supply to homes. We need those machines which can use this kind of gas resource. We don't have them. We need these kind of internal combustion engines which can use gas as supplier. Now presently, if one uses CNG in their vehicles, CNG, the traditional process, that is usage of petrol and diesel, provides greater thrust. CNG is not able to provide that thrust. CNG also has some effect on the machine's life. It reduces its lifetime. So there are certain ills and advantages as well. This is where in a state of transition, it will be a good step to boost the presence of this energy and proportionally reduce the presence of the other energy. So while India imports 80 to 85% of petroleum reserves in the country, we import around 50% of gases, right? This is a cheaper mode. We all know that gas is cheaper in the country as compared to petrol, and therefore we will reduce down on import burden of petroleum. But this transition is the key. The transition will need capacity building, will need intelligent investing, it will need research and development. So we will need better capacity utilization in the country. Presently not very good. 10 to 20% of capacity utilization is happening in the country, because of which there are low returns of investment. So organizations in the country, for example, GAIL, if it has invested in a gas project and if it does not get the proper returns, a company like Indraprasth Gas Limited, IGL, or MGL, Mahanagar Gas Limited, these are the companies, these are some PSUs which have invested in the gas distribution networks at homes. And when they are not able to get the finances back, that means capacity utilization is not happening as per required norms, the companies will run into losses. And then this will not be encouraging for other organizations in the sector. All right, so presently only 5 crore households are utilizing gas sector. However, the number of household sectors in the country are 25, right? More than 25 crore households do exist, considering one household has 5 people living in it. All right. The skewed connection, PNG, pipe natural gas, is only available in some urban areas with better facilities, better amenities, high-rise buildings, towers, where there is more density of persons and the reach is and the utility is high. But then it must be present to all the persons, all right, especially in the industrial area. There are safety issues. Drilling, exploration of gases is a safety concern. So these are the issues with it. Recommendations of the Parliamentary Committee are such that there should be more exploration, infrastructure, tax incentive should be given. Simple kind of tax incentive is the one where the movement of gas will be provided some incentives. The container, the truck that is being used to transport gases from one place to another, it will be at subsidized cost, the tax will be reduced. The movement or the taxation on the product distribution itself will be further reduced. So for example, when I was the utility of a gas, one LPG cylinder utility with respect to the pipe natural gas connection is not only safer, this is also cheaper. So this is why people also will transit in the mid and long run to these kind of facilities, right? Okay. Presently, when the government offers Ujjwala scheme to people, or Pehal scheme, where the LPG gases are distributed to people, the first one being free of cost. This is a scheme for those people who are curbing the indoor pollution. That is the first step to provide them the gas cylinders. And the second step will be to be able to ensure that these people have the reach of piped natural gas as well. All right, at places where this is viable. All right, so right now eyeing availability at 71% of household capacity, and this is how capacity utilization of pipelines will happen. All right, smaller cities do not have it right now. So this is the update from here. India, one gas grid. Now if I summarize what we studied here, one nation, one gas grid. What we studied here are some data about gas grid. So present usage in the country and the potential uses that we are looking at, the world average, and the number of kilometers that we envisage to extend. The presence of gas grid in the western and the northern part, and completely missing out on eastern and northeastern India. The utility of gas in the country as of now, that is in specific sectors of industrial growth like plastic industry, fertilizer industry, but its potential in household industry, its potential in power industry, and its potential in road transport industry as well. Along with that, we also understood what is the difference between LPG and CNG. We understood which are the countries which are importing or exporting to India, what has been the challenge as of now. So exploration, limited extent of use, the lesser presence of the pipelines, inadequate utilization. We also understood the supply chain of petroleum products. Examples, Barauni, example Mathura, example western of India, where gas is being utilized for production of fertilizers, and fertilizers also have the input from the petroleum industry. All right, so we understood all this in this discussion. What is more important to understand is that there are some shortcomings that need to be overcome, and there are some advantages that must be utilized. Yes, advantages of gas over other industries is that it is a cleaner fuel, it is available abundantly, and it is something that we can import or utilize at a cheaper and economical rate. All right, so this is what we understood in today's featured news. What do we have as the question? Discuss the need for development of national gas grid. Need is immense because we want to transit to a cleaner mode of energy. All right, now if you like this initiative, share some love through likes, comments and shares. Questions, let's see. Color not visible. Okay, in this background dark color, and in the darker background the light color. Noted. Thank you. Well, thank you once again. Amlan says in PNG they charge minimum fixed amount, which is good for family with more members but not for those people with 1 or 2 people. If the number of people are few, say suppose if the okay, I have accepted what you said, but if the number of people are few, the provision of the piped gas also will be costly for that person. Why? Because extension of that facility will be at the person's cost only, no? Right? So not only the extension at the person's cost, but it will also be a challenging task for the government, right? So the corners of the country cannot be provided with those infrastructure which are very, very costly. They need to be provided some solutions which are alternatives as well. So what is one good alternative is alternate fuel of energy, right? For example, biogas, the production of biogas and its integrated supply chain, right? So if you remember, we had covered that 10% of India's supply of energy will be replaced with the biogas, right? Finding of biogas in the country and utilizing it. So those are the areas which biogas will be utilizing. All right. Okay. Hima's question and one more. Mauritius. Mauritius, we will discuss that. Mauritius, the relationship with Mauritius has been that of a filmy one where India has had very good relations with one government and another government, and then we see complete turmoil towards China against India. Lot of slogans like India go back happening in Mauritius. But then right now, Mauritius being an important neighbor, India has to cater to supporting them. So we'll discuss this as well. Hima says, India's poverty, chronic poverty in the country, and how is it an important determinant, helpful indicator? Poverty as an indicator. For example, a country like, see, what is poverty? Poverty is determined by the consumption status of the individual. If the consumption is low, that means the person is poor. If the consumption is above low, that means around 145 rupees of consumption and $1.9 purchasing power parity. And if they are able to consume lesser than this, that means they are extremely poor. And if the consumption is more than this, that means they are not in that bracket. Now, if the government knows that the consumption of people in the country at some spaces, for example, if they know that the consumption level in places like Bihar, Jharkhand and Eastern UP and some parts of Odisha, this is not good. If they know this, then government will be able to provide those kind of services which increase the consumption base. So if you remember the barbell strategy, there are different kind of initiatives government can apply. So some will be flexible in nature and some of them will be supporting the people, that is social sector initiatives. So while providing them that is food, government will also want them to start fishing for themselves. That means giving them skills, requisite skills for self-employment. If one knows the level of poverty, then only this can happen. If we do not know the level of poverty, then we will not be able to create policies for governance. We will not be able to understand what are the prime requirements of people in certain areas. So poverty as an indicator is not just about poverty, it is also about consumption of those specific articles which are required. There is a consumption basket, and that basket will contains entities. For example, do we purchase slippers or not? Do we have a scooter at home or two-wheeler? Do we have pakka homes with good flooring and a good roof. It should not be a thatched roof. These are indicators for multi-dimensional poverty index calculation. There's another indicator called as HDI, Human Development Indicators. Human Development Indicators has three important components, right? Longevity, education, and which is the third indicator. There are three indicators here. Now, education as an indicator is very simple and straightforward. Have you completed your 10th class or 12th class? Are you able to read and write or not? Very simple. However, for one to be able to read, one needs textbooks, one needs notebooks, and one needs certain level of basic investment. Yes, government provides a lot of things free of cost. However, person's self-expenditure, out-of-pocket expenditure is also a determinant to help to understand if this particular parameter, education, was achieved or not. If education was achieved, it's great. If it was not achieved, it becomes a part of multidimensional poverty of the individual. Right? So, poverty as an indicator, like while MPI has got 10 indicators, like HDI has got 3 indicators, MPI has got 10 indicators. And which of them is, and this is called as multidimensional poverty, and which of them we are lacking in is the one which government will focus on in that particular region. India has all the districts mapped out at multidimensional poverty by Niti Aayog. The institute which calculates MPI for the whole world, they do it at a bigger scale, but then Niti Aayog does it at the state level and district level. And if we know if it is the health indicators which are lagging, or if it is the education indicators, or availability of basic facilities at home like TV, fridge, electronic devices, is there electricity available or not? These are the dimensions which help us understanding what is the poverty. And on the basis of that, government then maps what are the requirements in a specific area, and then it caters to people. All right. One day, maybe tomorrow, I will show you the indicators of multidimensional poverty. And once you know the indicators, you will be able to appreciate that this poverty alleviation can happen only when we have these data for all the 10 levels. Chronic poverty. As far as I understand, as of now, is that chronic poverty means a person who is deprived forever. Chronic means long term, no? Chronic disease means a person just ailing through that for a long time. And acute means rising, acute cough for a few days and then it came back to normal. Chronic means levels are high for all the time, right? So when you speak of chronic poverty, you simply mean to talk about people who are poor for a longer period of time. So what are the advantages of calculating chronic poverty levels in India? Is that what you're asking? One simple example of chronic poverty and people who became who became poor and then got back to being not poor was the times of distress, that is in 2016. The times when we went through the issue of demonetization. It led to poverty increasing in urban areas by 2%. 2019, people in the structural unemployment scenario, right, when India was transiting from manual driven work process to automated driven work processes, when economy was also slow downing, when GDP was rising, however, it was not creating employment. This was the times of employment transition. People in rural areas went through poverty, right? So these are the transient poverty when people are being deprived of facilities. However, they are not poor all the time because they get absorbed in economy. People who are chronically poor and extremely poor, that is the proportion that has reduced. Right? So people who are transiting, and this is what World Bank has mentioned. This is World Bank stating about the people who are poor only for a short while during the times of demonetization in the country and during the times of 2019 when India saw a slump in economy, right? So real estate, automotive sector, all the sectors, industrial sector, they're not performing as well, and therefore people who are at urban areas, they migrating back to rural areas. Those things happened even during times of COVID 2020 and 21. What about the employment, and 22 employment of people employed in urban areas, right? Although they have been absorbed in the in MSME sector, but then what is the quality of employment? What is the remuneration it provides? Is this chronic poverty? No, it is transient in nature. Yes, had people not been able to serve themselves better, had they not got any productive employment later on, they could have been pushed into chronic poverty as well. But then people are doing something about themselves. So therefore, people who are transiting from one level of economy to the other, for example, disguised unemployment. Example is structural changes in India's economy. These are transient levels of poverty. Sudden policy changes by the government, demonetization, a pandemic level of insecurity in the country, financial insecurity, job insecurity, complete country's imbalance, right? So these are the levels in which, these are the places where you could see poverty getting hit. But then chronic poverty, as rightly mentioned, once a poor, always a poor. Very tough to gauge. But this is where India has improved. People who are extremely poor, chronically extremely poor, that has only reduced with time and remained within 1%. So that is a good sign for the country. If there is some other question, please post it down in the comment section and I will get back to you. All right. And it's a good question. Thank you for participating. People, you can attempt this question. The question states, what is discuss the need for India to have an integrated national gas grid. All right. People viewing offline, please put down a comment in case you have any questions, doubts. And if you like this initiative, share some love through likes, comments and shares. There are two editorials that we have provided for today. One on China being one of those hegemons providing finances, yet not being able to help those three countries, Myanmar, Pakistan and Sri Lanka. And another one on a very important personality from Andhra, and it is his 100th birth anniversary in this particular year. So important for UPSC. Also, a complete life journey and how he's helped tannery industry. So do watch both these editorials in our YouTube channel. Thank you, Amlan, Bhavani, Ashish, Sam, Netra, Hima, Tyasha, Kim. Good night, all of you. Korean as well. Great. Thank you. Good night.